Hello, it is the 11th of February, and I just completed the last James Bond book. I have been reading them in order from first to last, and I have all the videos on there, live streams of my impressions of these books. And I'm going to summarize this, and then after this video, I'm going to do a comparison in ratings to the movies. And the books, only a few of them were translated from the book to the movie in true form. A lot of them were rewritten and had nothing to do with the book at all. So this last book is not a novel. It is a short story collection. It's only 120 pages long. It originally was literally only two stories, Octopussy and The Living Daylights. But then they went ahead and added in later publishings two more stories, which are The Property of a Lady and 007 in New York. So I'm going to be going down the list here of my impressions of each story. And of course, this is the last one. It became the 13th and 15th film, respectively. So Octopussy was the 13th movie, Living Daylights was the 15th, and I'm not sure if the story Living Daylights translated very closely or not. Octopussy did not, so I doubt it. You'd have to read up on that or watch a comparison video and see how they match up. But like I said, most of these James Bond movies are nothing like the book. The Property of a Lady and 007 in New York were never made into films. And 007 in New York is really just it's a story fragment. It's not even a short story. So there's no reason that'll ever become a movie. Property of a Lady, I think, was used in another film, and you'd have to look up which one. It might be Quantum of Solace or something. I'm not sure. Anyway, I started this on the 8th. It took me 3 days. And Octopussy had next to nothing to do with Bond. It was more of a thief, murderer, gets caught, and has a choice of going to military court-martial or offing himself. And I'm not going to tell you which one he did, but Bond was basically just there to give him the bad news. That was a 3-star kind of story. It was intriguing, but not really a James Bond story. The Property of a Lady, an auction of Fabergé egg that really sent me down a rabbit hole looking up historical items. It was a great story with a real sudden ending. So I gave it 4 stars because if it had been wrapped up with a better ending, it could have been really good. But the ending just kind of fell off of a cliff. The Living Daylights is a tale of Bond as a sniper that's quite good, short and sweet. And yeah, I liked that one. It's pretty good. Not awesome, but pretty good. And the last one was really just, like I said, a fragment that was more a waste of time. And it was more about him, how he liked his eggs than anything else. And apparently he didn't like the city of New York very much. So here's my finalized ranking in order. And I went the rounds trying to figure out if this should end up dead last or if it should end up higher than dead last. And it did end up higher than dead last, and I'll tell you why. And this is argumentable. I mean, I could have went the other way too. So Moonraker was my absolute favorite. Goldfinger was my second favorite. As goofy as it was super blown out and weird, but it was exciting. From Russia with Love, very realistic, great book. Not as flashy, flamboyant as Goldfinger, but very good. Live and Let Die, real cool, interesting story. Went all over the place. Had a lot of racism in it. I didn't like that part, but if you could put that aside, it's a good book. You Only Live Twice, real good book. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, real good book that was a faithful translation to a movie as well. Casino Royale was good, but short and depressing. And then after that is where I start getting into the ones that I didn't really like as much. So if you were going to read the best of the Bond books, it's Moonraker, Goldfinger, From Russia with Love, Live and Let Die, You Only Live Twice, and On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Casino Royale. After that, I'm not so sure I'd read the other ones unless you want to do the whole collection like I did. So next up is Dr. No. Thunderball, didn't really like Thunderball, just thuggery crime book. Diamonds Are Forever, same thing. It seems like a lot of the ones I didn't like were just like mafia guys, and it wasn't like a British spy movie that you think of with some elaborate save the world tale. It was more just a crime. So Doctor No, Thunderball, Diamonds Forever, and then For Your Eyes Only was the other short story collection, and the title track of that book was really good. And then there was a couple okay stories, but because I really liked For Your Eyes Only, I dropped it there. And then I put this book because even though there's only four stories, three of them are pretty solid. And, it averages out not very high, but they were okay stories. So after that, I put The Spy Who Loved Me, which it was interesting, it was entertaining, but it was ridiculous. And even Ian Fleming didn't like that book. So it depends if you like flamboyant, exciting tales, perhaps you could get some fun out of The Spy Who Loved Me, but it was stupid. So I decided ultimately to go with just bare logic. I liked this one better. It was more logical than The Spy Who Loved Me. And the one I didn't like, the last place book, was The Man with the Golden Gun. And I know you hear that title and you think, no, it's got to be good. It's The Man with the Golden Gun. But it literally had hardly anything to do with the title at all. The guy in the conflict was very short lived at the end of the book, and it wasn't exciting. It was just a sleeper. I thought it was a total dud book. So that's my summation of the James Bond Ian book, Ian Fleming books. And there's a total of, how many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 15 of them. And I read them all in about a month. I think this one only took me 3 days. So 120 pages, if you can bang out like 30, 40 pages on average, you can read all of them in about a month. And it was fun. I liked the series. If you would compare it to like Agatha Christie murder mystery books, I like those better than this. This had pieces of what you know of in the films, but it wasn't as exciting as the films. The films are all over the place. There's a lot of stupid ones too, but in general, what you know of James Bond was made, I believe, in the movies. A lot more interesting, made him to be more of a rock star. In the books, he wasn't really. He was just a law enforcement agent, and it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't. It was exciting at times, but I would say it was more of a depressing journal of a guy that's fighting crime and never really getting a lot of praise for what he's doing. Kind of the opposite, in fact, going through a lot of hell and being not really treated that well at the end of the day either. So Ian Fleming, of course, was involved in British crime fighting organizations and stuff. So he probably painted a fairly legit portrayal. Once the movie started, though, I think it kind of changed what he was going about to do. He was trying to bring light to the life of those guys and how hard it was, I think. And then it became glamorous, and he's stuck in this position of, what do I do? Do I write exciting books, or do I write realistic, more true books? And you got the sense that he kind of went back and forth from one book to the next. Like Goldfinger was ridiculous. It was perfect for a movie, but it wasn't realistic at all. So, yeah, I think he was caught in the middle of a big money machine, and it perhaps made it not what he intended to do. I think this was kind of a confessional of, I wonder how much of his own life. I don't know. A lot of what was in these books was the hard living, smoking, drinking, womanizing, bad health came out later. And towards the end, stories of suicide and things of that nature because of health problems. And a lot of it clearly came out of his own problems because he died only a couple of years. I think this was posthumously released, this piece here. So yeah, he was starting to fall apart towards the end of his writing, and you could feel it. So that part was kind of sad. But as I read, he smoked 4 packs of cigarettes a day, so a lot of it he did to himself. Whether unbeknownst to him the dangers of it or not, I'm not sure because it was a long time ago, but still kind of sad. Um, yeah, but definitely worth reading the series if you like to read. If you want the best of, stick with the first ones that I listed. And the next video will be a comparison from not the stories per se and how they translated to the movies, but how I enjoyed the movie series versus the book series.